And then my brother-in-law, he told me that about the work that he was doing. And so we immediately got in contact with him. By this time, I was actually with my friend here, Amin. A lot of you know him, seen his picture. And we were in a situation in prison where, you have brothers who love Allah. They love the messenger of Allah. But they don't have a way. They don't have that prophetic model to follow. They've grown up a certain way. They're introduced to Islam, and they want to follow it. But you need a guide. You need someone to show you how you take all of this information and you imbibe it, and then you model. It has to come out of you in a beautiful manner. And this was the problem. You have a myriad of books that you can buy. This is Islam. This is Islam. And so you have all these brothers, they're reading this book. It's kind of like, it's like click and paste. They're reading the books, and they're taking a very, very complicated concept, and they're trying to apply it to a prison situation, and it doesn't fit. And they don't have anybody qualified who can tell them, that doesn't apply to your situation. And so there was a lot of mistakes being made. I recognized this immediately. And I was, when I was arrested actually in Philadelphia. So now I hate Philadelphia. I was only there for like 6 hours, and I caught my case. And I was actually supposed to get on a flight that night and go down to Atlanta. But alhamdulillah, it's what Allah had for me, and I learned from my mistakes. But there's a large Muslim population in Philadelphia. And you see that immediately in the prison system. Immediately. When I was arrested and they took me down to the federal holding facility, you might, on a specific unit, you might have 120 people, but 75 of them are Muslim. 75 of them are Muslim. You go down to the visitation, all of the people, a lot of the women who are coming to visit those who are incarcerated, they've got on niqab and hijab, and it's the prison is filled with Muslims. 85% of them, they don't know their deen. It was like crisis proportion. So immediately I recognized, okay, we've got to figure out a way of educating those that we come into contact with. And there's those of us who, alhamdulillah, we had a high school education. Maybe we were introduced to, some college. We did a lot of reading while we were young. Immediately we find ourselves as leaders in the prison situation. I'm sure like everywhere you go, the people recognize, he seems like he knows what he's talking about. And then you got to figure out how to take all of this information and give it to the Muslims. And sometimes you have time, and sometimes you don't. Situations are popping up all the time. Those of you who go to a university, there's an environment on the university campus. There's all type of things that are happening. Prison is the same way. You have people who they're drinking and then they go and do something. A Muslim gets into a situation and you've got to either come to his aid or you have to stop him, just like Rasulullah said. I've been in situations where, two Muslim brothers were getting ready to literally kill each other. Both of them had the knives out. And you got to come in there and you got to calm them down, and you got to, make sense out of the situation Islamically. How do you do it? So I was searching from the very beginning, how do you take this Islam and you give it to these brothers who they love Allah and they love His Messenger, but they don't have a way of learning, Islam properly. They don't have a model. They don't have anybody they can call and say, what's the ruling on this? How do I deal with that? What do I say to my non-Muslim parents about this? I had a baby before I became Muslim, and this girl, she still wants to deal with me. Maybe I want to marry her, maybe I don't. How do I go about it Islamically? You need somebody to talk to. And a lot of times, I don't want the responsibility of telling somebody, you should do this, or you should do that. You need somebody who has studied the deen, and his ego and his nafs is not, it's not in the way. So when my brother-in-law, when he told me that the work that Sheikh Rami was doing, we immediately got in contact with him. Immediately. This is just a slight deviation, but yesterday, alhamdulillah, we were, Sheikh Nabil invited us over to his house, very gracious host. And, I asked my daughter, I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I asked her, what was your impression of Sheikh Rami after, the dinner and everything? And she said, I was watching him to try to get a frame on how he was. I said, what did you think? What was the frame that you got? And she said, he's patient. I bear witness. I bear witness. Myself and Amin, we would call about everything. And he would respond with generosity and grace. He would send us black and white photocopies of texts that he was working on. Some of it wasn't even translated, so we had to take the time to get with some of alhamdulillah, we were students of Arabic, but we would go into the library and we would start translating this with some of the Palestinian brothers. Some of the work. Just on how to be a student. How do you be a student? Imam Zurnuji has a book, and it's called Ta'aleem al-Muta'allim. And it's how do you be a student? How does a Muslim just be a student so that you can absorb this information? And we started translating it with the commentary. And we would be amazed. We would just be blown away. These were photocopies, and it still had his notes on the side in Arabic. I still have that stuff, Sheikh Rami. I still have that stuff. So we saw Tayba when it was, black and white photocopies. And we loved it. Wallahi, we loved it. Me and Amin would go to the library, and then, as soon as he was the imam, I was the assistant imam. And we would make sure that we distributed this information to the brothers who needed it. I remember when Amin was telling me, he had some brothers from Savannah. He had, they were cousins. It was two cousins. And Amin was taking them to the library, and he was going over a Maliki text with them, just so they could know how to make wudu. They understood the importance of istinja. And Amin would come and say, not only am I teaching them the deen, but I'm also just teaching them how to read English. And I was telling him, Akhi, this is the work, man. This is it. This is the work. This is, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And then we watched Tayba grow. We watched it. We watched Tayba, when the book started being published. And we would be amazed. And at the same time, we're talking to Sheikh Rami, we're calling the business office, we're getting letters. And we just loved it. And then when we actually had to separate, I went to another facility, and alhamdulillah, Amin got released. One of the things that Abdul Muhaymin, when he was talking about the studying and the aftercare, when Sheikh Nabil was saying there's 2,000 students, I want to say something. There's 2,000 students, but if those students are learning the information, there's more than 2,000 students, because I myself, I can bear witness that from this program, from studying these books and teaching these books, there were hundreds of brothers that I interacted with that was learning this material. But because there was a backlog, they couldn't get their application in. You know, there was a shortness of funds. So I would get the information and then I would disseminate it. I would make photocopies, or I would sit and you know, explain the material and encourage the brothers, send in your application. Then they might get a letter back saying, we don't have the material for you. But there's 2,000 actual students who are enrolled, but there's 10,000 that are benefiting from them. And inshallah, you'll see it on Yawm al-Qiyamah. You'll see it. You'll see it. So, you know, that's just an introduction to my experience. Once I got out, alhamdulillah, I was released March of 2016. Once I got out, I had the same struggles as everybody else. You have to figure out a financial way of maintaining yourself. I had actually gone down I had been out for maybe about a year, and I went down and I found a job. You know, okay. Well, let me back up a little bit. There's a program. There's an aftercare program in Los Angeles, and it's called Homeboy Industries. And basically, what they do is they help people who have been released, or any people who are on probation or at risk. And they help them with everything. They have programs about domestic violence. They have programs on how to write a resume. You know, these are skills this is what Abdul Muhammad is talking about. These are skills that the brothers need. And some of them need more intensive care than that. Some of them just need soft skills. How do you work in a corporate environment and be able to communicate with people properly? They need to be taught how to do that, because they came out of a prison environment where they're used to dealing with staff who have disdain for them, groups in prison who, you know, they're always under the threat of, you know, some type of malicious behavior. And so now they've got to come out and they have to deal with the world as it is. You know, the prison environment is no longer relevant. So this aftercare is immensely important. I was in Los Angeles, so I went to Homeboy Industries, and immediately they helped me. You know, they helped me to find a job. I mean, they helped me to do things like buy these shoes. By Allah, they bought these shoes for me. By Allah, they bought these shoes. You know, they helped. You know, but I had gone into a place. I had just secured a job. I was out in the parking lot, and Sheikh Rami called. You know, and he said, "Listen, we have a small budget, and we would like you to, to just, write a book about, just the beginning part of, introduction to Islam." And I told him, I said, "I just got a job, but so what? This is what my heart is committed to. Yes, I'll do it." So we started, he sent me an outline that he had already been working on. All the work that he's already been doing. He has an outline, he's already been asking, and part of the outline was questions that he was answering. Brothers had questions on all type of stuff. What type of food to eat? How do we deal with, Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy al Munkar, enjoining the right and forbidding the wrong in prison? How do we deal with the staff? How should we deal with the imam who might be, on an ego trip? And he started outlining these things and answering these questions, along with running the Tayba Foundation. So he sent me all of this material, and I started going through it. But at the same time, I knew I have to include all of this, but I've got experience. I know exactly the questions that need to be answered. And so we started working. We put together, and our outline was Islam, Iman, Ihsan. What is Islam? The 5 pillars. What is Iman? The 6 articles of faith. What is Ihsan? How do you become a muhsin? How do you do it? And then we, slowly but surely, alhamdulillah, we put together this book. Introduction to Islam. And alhamdulillah, I mean, he honored me by, in the beginning of the book it says about the author, but he did a lot of the work too. He did a lot of the work. And, I know we're running out of time. I just wanted to share this with you. I want you to know I am immensely grateful. Immensely. I am a direct recipient of your generosity, and I want to say thank you. May Allah reward you. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts this work. Even if it's if somebody can benefit from just one line, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me credit, I will be immensely thankful to Allah, to the Tayba Foundation, and to all of you who have contributed to this. And I don't want to forget about the wives, the children of the workers, like Sheikh Nabil, his wife, Sheikh Rami, his wife. I called Isa one time. Isa is the office manager at Tayba, and I was asking him some questions and stuff, and he said, it's Saturday, I gotta spend some time with my family. It's the weekend, I gotta spend some time with my family. And I understand, because he's doing a lot of work at the office, answering phone calls. They've got boxes and boxes of mail that has to go out, and he's responsible for that. Totally understand. But still, thank you, Isa. Allah reward all of you. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum.